I sold my wedding ring. I pawned my late husband's watch. I emptied my retirement account. I lied to my daughters about where the money was going. All for a man I spoke to every single day for 8 months. A man who called me beautiful. A man who promised me a future. A man who said he was fighting for our country overseas. $45,000. Gone. Then the police officer pressed play on a body camera video, and I watched the man whose face I'd fallen in love with, living a completely different life. With a wife. With children. With no idea his photos were being used to destroy women like me. I'm the 27th woman this has happened to. And right now, somewhere, woman number 28 is getting her first, "Good morning, sweetheart," message from a soldier who doesn't exist. How does someone steal your heart, your money, and your dignity without ever showing their real face? How do professional scammers turn loneliness into a weapon? And what did that body cam footage reveal that shattered everything I thought I knew? My name is Dorothy Williams. I'm 67 years old. And this is the most painful story I've ever had to tell. I sent $45,000 to a man I never met. I sold my late husband's watch. I pawned my wedding ring. I lied to my daughters. And when the police officer pressed play on that body camera footage, I realized the man I loved didn't exist at all. My name is Dorothy Williams. I'm 67 years old. And this is how I fell in love with a ghost. It started on a Tuesday afternoon in March. 5 years after burying my husband James, 5 years of eating dinner alone, 5 years of sleeping on one side of a bed meant for two. My daughter Kenya had set up a profile for me on silverconnections.com. "Mama, you need to get out there," she'd said, typing away on my laptop. "Daddy would want you to be happy." I didn't believe her. But I also didn't delete the account. The messages came slowly at first. Men my age, mostly widowers like me, sending generic hellos and compliments that felt copy-pasted. I responded politely but felt nothing. Then on April 3rd, a message appeared that made my heart skip. "Good morning, beautiful. I hope this message finds you wrapped in sunshine and peace. My name is Captain Michael Harrison, U.S. Army, currently deployed overseas. I saw your profile and something about your smile made me stop scrolling. Would you allow an old soldier the honor of getting to know you?" I stared at those words for 20 minutes. His profile picture showed a handsome man in military dress uniform, salt and pepper hair, warm brown eyes, medals across his chest. 59 years old. Widowed 3 years ago. Originally from Atlanta, Georgia. Stationed in Syria on a peacekeeping mission. Something about the formality, the respect in his words, reminded me of James. My fingers trembled as I typed back. "Good morning, Captain Harrison. Your message is very kind. I'd be happy to talk." That's how it began. With kindness. With words that felt like warm honey after years of cold silence. We messaged every day. Sometimes 3 or 4 times. He'd tell me about the desert heat, about missing American food, about the men under his command who reminded him why he served. I told him about my garden, about my grandchildren, about the hole James left behind that never quite filled up. "You deserve to feel whole again, Dorothy," Michael wrote one night. "A woman like you, with so much love to give, shouldn't spend her years alone. When I finish this deployment in September, I'd love to take you to dinner. A real date. Would you say yes?" I cried reading that message. Actual tears rolling down my face in my dark bedroom at 11:47 at night. I hadn't felt wanted in so long. "Yes," I typed back. I'd say yes. The weeks blurred together in the best way. Good morning texts that came like clockwork. Voice messages where his deep voice called me sweetheart and darling. He never could video chat, poor internet connection on the base, he explained, but he sent photos. Him in uniform. Him with fellow soldiers. Him holding a puppy they'd found near the barracks. Kenya noticed the change in me immediately. "Mama, you're glowing," she said during Sunday dinner. "What's going on?" I blushed like a teenager. I met someone. Online. He's a soldier. Her face went tight. Mama, be careful with those sites. There are scammers who. Kenya, I'm not stupid, I snapped. I know what a scam looks like. Michael is real. He's respectful. He's patient. He's nothing like what you're thinking. She backed off, but I saw the worry in her eyes. I told myself she just couldn't understand. She had her husband, her full house, her busy life. She didn't know what loneliness felt like when it sits on your chest every single night. By June, Michael and I were talking about our future together. Where we'd live, he suggested moving to Georgia to be near his daughter, but he'd go anywhere I wanted. Whether I'd want to travel, he dreamed of showing me Italy, the place he'd been stationed years ago. What our lives would look like when he finally came home. You've given me something to fight for, Dorothy, he wrote. When I'm out here in this heat, surrounded by sand and danger, I think about your smile and it keeps me going. You're my reason now. I printed that message and kept it in my Bible. Then on June 19th, everything changed. The message came at 2 a.m. My phone buzzed on the nightstand and I grabbed it, half asleep, worried something was wrong. Dorothy, I need your help. Please. I'm in the hospital. There was an incident during patrol, an IED explosion. I'm okay, but I'm injured. The medical bills here are more than what my insurance covers and they won't let me leave until it's paid. I've never asked you for anything, but I'm desperate. Can you help me? I'll pay you back the moment I get home, I swear on my life. My hands shook so hard I could barely type. Oh my God, Michael, are you okay? How badly are you hurt? What do you need? $3,000 for the immediate treatment. I know it's a lot. I'm so sorry to ask. But I have no one else, Dorothy. My daughter is struggling financially herself. You're the only person I trust. $3,000. I had it. James's life insurance money, sitting in savings for emergencies. This was an emergency. The man I loved was hurt and alone on the other side of the world. I sent the money that morning through Western Union like he asked. My hands trembled filling out the forms. The woman behind the counter gave me a long look. Ma'am, do you know this person you're sending money to? He's my boyfriend, I said, defensive. He's a soldier. He's hurt. She handed me the receipt without another word, but her expression said everything. Michael's relief message came an hour later. You saved my life, sweetheart. I can't thank you enough. The doctors are treating me now. I'll be okay because of you. You're my angel. I felt like a hero. Like I'd done something that mattered. 2 weeks later, another message. Another emergency. The military was transferring him to a hospital in Germany, but there were fees. Administrative costs. Transport expenses. Another $2,000. I hesitated this time. Michael, why isn't the military covering this? Don't they take care of their soldiers? His response came fast. It's complicated, baby. There's bureaucracy, red tape. I'm caught in the system. I wouldn't ask if I had any other choice. Please, Dorothy. I'm counting on you. I sent the money. Then another $1,000 the next month for medication. Then $1,500 for a surgery complication. Then $5,000 for legal fees because apparently the military was investigating the incident and he needed a lawyer. By September, I'd sent over $25,000. I'd emptied my savings. Started pulling from my retirement account, paying the early withdrawal penalties. Sold James's vintage Rolex watch that I'd planned to give to my grandson. Put my wedding ring in a pawn shop and lied to my daughters about losing it. Every time I sent money, Michael's gratitude poured through the screen. I love you, Dorothy. You're the only good thing in my life. When I get home, I'm going to spend the rest of my life making this up to you. You're my everything. I believed him. I had to believe him. Because if I didn't, then what had I done? What had I given away? The video chat excuses continued. Bad internet. Security protocols. Camera broken. Always something. But the photos kept coming. Him recovering in a hospital bed. Him with bandages. Him slowly healing. Soon, baby, he'd write. Soon I'll be home and we'll finally meet. Face to face. Heart to heart. I can't wait to hold you. I lived for those messages. They were oxygen when I felt like I was drowning in doubt. My granddaughter Zoe came to visit in late October. 23 years old, sharp as a tack, studying computer science at Georgia Tech. She borrowed my laptop to check her email and I didn't think anything of it until I heard her voice from the living room. Nana, can you come here for a second? Something in her tone made my stomach drop. I walked in to find her staring at my laptop screen, my Silver Connections messages pulled up. Zoe, that's private. Nana, how much money have you sent this man? The room tilted. That's none of your business. How much? Her voice cracked. Please tell me it's not a lot. I couldn't look at her. He's my boyfriend. He was hurt. He needed help. Nana, this is a scam. This is a classic romance scam. The soldier story, the overseas deployment, the medical emergency, the constant need for money, these are all red flags. I'm looking at his profile right now and I can reverse image search these photos in 2 seconds. Don't you dare, I said, my voice shaking. Don't you dare do that. I have to. Nana, please. You're being scammed. She typed something and turned the laptop toward me. The same photos Michael had sent me appeared on a reverse image search page. Dozens of results. Different names. Different stories. The same face used on Russian scam websites, Pakistani fraud forums, Nigerian romance scam warnings. The man in the photos was identified as Sergeant First Class Robert Jenkins, a real U.S. Army soldier whose photographs had been stolen and used by scammers worldwide. Michael Harrison didn't exist. I couldn't breathe. The room spun. Zoe was talking but I couldn't hear her over the roaring in my ears. Everything I'd felt, everything I'd believed, every message that made my heart flutter, it was all a lie. A script. A performance designed to empty my bank account. Who was I talking to? I whispered. Probably someone in another country. West Africa, maybe. Southeast Asia. They run these operations in groups. You're not the only one, Nana. They do this to hundreds of women. I spent that night in the bathroom vomiting. Not from illness, but from shame so deep it felt like it was eating me from the inside out. I'd sold my husband's watch. I'd pawned my ring. I'd lied to my children. For a man who never existed. For words on a screen typed by someone who saw me as nothing but a paycheck. Zoe wanted to call the police immediately. I begged her not to. They'll think I'm stupid. They'll think I'm some foolish old woman who deserved this. You're not stupid, Zoe said, crying now too. You were lonely. They target lonely people. That's what makes them predators, Nana. They hunt vulnerability. But I felt stupid. I felt like the biggest fool on earth. I couldn't tell Kenya or my other daughters. Couldn't admit what I'd done. So I kept talking to Michael, but now every message felt like acid in my throat. I wanted to scream at him, to call him every name in the book. But Zoe said the police might be able to track him if I kept him engaged. So I pretended. Just like he'd been pretending all along. Michael, when are you coming home? I typed, my hands shaking with rage. Soon, my love. Just a few more weeks. I can't wait to hold you. Lies. All lies. I lost 12 pounds in 2 weeks. Stopped sleeping. Stopped eating. Stopped going to church because I couldn't face people. How could I sit in those pews and pretend I hadn't been the world's biggest fool? Finally, on November 8th, Kenya showed up unannounced. Took one look at me and knew something was catastrophically wrong. "Mama, what happened? You look sick." Everything came pouring out. The whole humiliating story. The money. The lies. The fake soldier. The empty bank accounts. I sobbed in my daughter's arms like a child while she held me and kept saying, "It's okay, Mama. We'll fix this. It's okay." But it wasn't okay. It would never be okay again. Kenya called the police that afternoon. 2 officers came to the house, a young white officer named Patterson and an older black officer named Detective Marcus Stone, who reminded me painfully of James. I told them everything. Showed them the messages, the photos, the Western Union receipts. Detective Stone's face never changed, but I saw the pity in his eyes. That look that said he'd heard this story 1,000 times before. "Mrs. Williams, I'm going to be honest with you," he said gently. "The person who scammed you is most likely in another country. Nigeria, Ghana, Philippines, somewhere outside U.S. jurisdiction. The chances of recovering your money are virtually zero. These operations are sophisticated and nearly impossible to trace. The hope I didn't even know I was holding on to shattered into dust. We'll file a report with the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center," he continued. "We'll document everything. But I want you to understand the reality here. This money is gone. $45,000. Gone. My security. My future. My husband's legacy. There's something else," Detective Stone said. "The photos this person used, they're of a real soldier. Sergeant First Class Robert Jenkins. His images have been stolen and used in scams for years. He's a real person serving in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. The Army has tried to help him, but there's only so much they can do. Every few months, another victim contacts them. Can I talk to him?" The words came out before I could stop them. The real man. Can I tell him I'm sorry his face was used to hurt me? Detective Stone exchanged a glance with Officer Patterson. "I can reach out to his command. See if he'd be willing to speak with you. But Mrs. Williams, he's a victim in this too. He might not want contact." I nodded, but something in me needed to close this circle. I needed to see the real face behind the lie, even if it destroyed me. 3 weeks passed. Thanksgiving came and went. I sat at Kenya's table surrounded by family and felt like a ghost. My granddaughter Zoe held my hand under the table during grace, and I nearly broke down. On December 2nd, Detective Stone called. "Mrs. Williams, I have some news. We located Sergeant Jenkins. He's willing to do a video call with you, facilitated by us. He wants to help however he can." My heart hammered. "When?" "Tomorrow at 2 p.m. We'll do it at the station, if that works for you." I didn't sleep that night. Kept thinking about what I'd say to this stranger who'd unknowingly been the face of my nightmare. How do you apologize to someone for falling in love with their stolen face? Kenya drove me to the station. Detective Stone led us to a conference room with a large monitor. Officer Patterson was there too, and a woman from Victim Services who kept giving me tissues I didn't ask for. At 2:03 p.m., the screen flickered to life. The man who appeared was immediately familiar and completely foreign. Those were the eyes from the photos. That was the face I'd stared at for months. But this man was real in a way Michael never was. He wore his uniform, sat in what looked like an office, and his expression was kind but exhausted. "Mrs. Williams, I'm Robert Jenkins. I'm so sorry this happened to you." His voice. It wasn't the voice from the voice messages Michael had sent. This voice was higher, had a different accent, belonged to a completely different person. I started crying immediately. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry they used your face. I'm so sorry I believed it. Ma'am, please don't apologize. You didn't do anything wrong. The people who did this, they're criminals. They steal everything, including identities. I've had my photos stolen for 6 years now. The army has tried to scrub them from the internet, but they keep popping up. Every month, someone new contacts me to say they sent money to me. It's devastating every single time. How many? I asked. How many people have they scammed using your face? He looked down. That I know of? 27 women in the last 3 years. The actual number is probably much higher. 27. I was number 27. Just another fool in a long line of fools. Mrs. Williams, I want you to know something, Robert Jenkins said, his voice firm now. I'm married. I have 2 daughters. I've been stationed stateside for 4 years. I've never been to Syria. I've never needed money from anyone. And if you look at my actual social media accounts, my verified accounts, you'd see my real life. But these scammers don't want you to see reality. They create fantasy because fantasy is easier to sell. I wanted the fantasy, I whispered. I was so lonely that I wanted to believe someone like you could want someone like me. Ma'am, with all due respect, someone like you deserves real love. Not this. Not lies built on stolen photos and manipulation. You deserve better than what they gave you. Detective Stone spoke up. Sergeant Jenkins, we're trying to track the operation. The Western Union transfers went to several locations: Accra, Lagos, Manila. The IP addresses traced to VPN services. We've contacted international authorities, but they'll never catch them, Robert finished. They never do. These operations move too fast, use too many intermediaries. By the time you trace one person, they've already moved to a new identity, new photos, new victims. The hopelessness in his voice mirrored what I felt in my bones. There's one thing that might help, Officer Patterson said, pulling out a tablet. Sergeant Jenkins, there was an incident at Fort Bragg 6 months ago. A domestic disturbance call at base housing. You were there when officers responded. They were wearing body cameras. Robert's face changed. Oh. Yeah. My neighbor's situation. What does that have to do with? We want Mrs. Williams to see it. See you as a real person in a real moment. Not a curated photo. Not a scripted message. Just, real. Robert nodded slowly. Okay. If you think it'll help. Officer Patterson pressed play. The footage was shaky at first, the camera mounted on an officer's chest as they approached a duplex on base. Voices in the background, someone crying. Then the camera panned and there he was, Robert Jenkins in civilian clothes, holding a baby on his hip, talking calmly to the responding officers. She's my neighbor, his voice came through the speaker. Her husband's deployed and she's struggling. I heard the baby crying, came to check on her. She's okay, just overwhelmed. I'm going to stay with her until her mother gets here. The baby on his hip grabbed at his face. He kissed the tiny hand absently while continuing to talk to the officers, explaining the situation, vouching for his neighbor, being what my James used to call good people. This was real. This was a real man, living a real life, being kind to a struggling neighbor. This wasn't the fantasy soldier who sent romantic messages. This was a father, a neighbor, a human being whose face had been weaponized against vulnerable women. The footage ended. The conference room was silent. That's who I am, Robert said quietly. That's my actual life. Not the hero they pretend I am. Not the romantic figure they create. Just a guy trying to do right by his family and his community. I couldn't stop crying. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Mrs. Williams, please hear me. You were targeted by professionals. They've been doing this for years. They know exactly what to say, exactly how much to ask for, exactly when to pull back and when to push. You're not weak for falling for it. You're human. But I felt weak. I felt destroyed. Kenya spoke for the first time. "Sergeant Jenkins, thank you for doing this. It means more than you know. I just wish I could help more," he said. "Mrs. Williams, the only thing that might give you any peace is knowing this: every woman who comes forward, every story that gets told, is a warning that might save someone else. The shame you feel? Channel it into action. Tell your story. Loud. Because somewhere out there, there's another lonely woman getting that first, 'Good morning, beautiful' message. And maybe if she's heard your story, she'll think twice." Detective Stone added, "We're connecting you with a victims advocacy group. Other women who've been through this. You're not alone, Mrs. Williams. And your story matters." After the call ended, I sat in that conference room for a long time. Kenya's arm around my shoulders. Detective Stone's card in my hand. The weight of what I'd lost pressing down on me like concrete. But something else was there too. Something small and sharp and angry. If I was number 27, how many women would come after me? How many lonely widows would get that same first message, see that same stolen face, believe those same beautiful lies? It's been 4 months now since that video call. 4 months of therapy, victim support groups, and slowly rebuilding my life from the ashes of my stupidity. Kenya moved me into her house temporarily while I figure out my finances. The bank accounts are still empty. I'm living on Social Security and my daughter's charity. But I'm not hiding anymore. Last month, I did an interview with the local news. Told my whole story, showed Michael's fake profile, showed the Western Union receipts. The reporter asked if I was embarrassed. Embarrassed? I said. I'm devastated. I'm angry. I'm broke. But I'm not embarrassed anymore. Because embarrassment keeps us silent. And silence is what lets these predators win. The interview went viral. My inbox flooded with messages from other women. Some thanking me for speaking up. Some telling me their own stories. Some warning me I was stupid and deserved what I got. I read every single one. A woman in Michigan sent me $40 with a note that said, "For groceries." From one fool to another. We survive. I cried for an hour. The victim advocacy group connected me with a lawyer working on a class action lawsuit against the dating sites for inadequate security. It won't bring my money back, but it's something. It's action instead of paralysis. I returned to church last Sunday. Sat in my usual pew and waited for the stares, the whispers. Instead, 3 women came up to me after service. One squeezed my hand and whispered, "My sister lost $30,000 to a fake doctor. Thank you for speaking up. Shame lives in darkness. I'm dragging mine into the light." My granddaughter Zoe set up a blog for me. Nana's Real Talk about romance scams. I post warnings, share red flags, answer questions from people who think they might be getting scammed. It's nothing fancy, but people read it. People share it. Last week, a woman emailed me. She'd been talking to a soldier online for 2 months. He was getting ready to ask for money for a medical emergency. She'd seen my interview and recognized the pattern. She blocked him before sending a single dollar. "You saved me," she wrote. "Your pain saved me." I read that message a dozen times. My pain saved her. Maybe that's the only good that can come from this nightmare. Maybe that's how I turned $45,000 in lost money into something that matters. I'll never get my savings back. I'll never undo the damage to my retirement. James's watch is gone forever. My wedding ring sits in some pawn shop, probably sold to someone who has no idea what it meant. But I'm still here. Still breathing. Still fighting. Detective Stone calls every few weeks to check in. No arrests. No recovered money. No justice in any traditional sense. But he tells me about women who've called the station after seeing my story, women who didn't send money because they recognized the scam. "You're making a difference, Mrs. Williams," he said during our last conversation. "More than you know." I want to believe him. Some days I do. Some days I just feel like a cautionary tale, a warning label slapped on loneliness. Robert Jenkins sent me a message through the Army's Victim Liaison Office. Just a short note thanking me for speaking publicly, saying it helps when victims tell their stories. He's still dealing with his identity being used to hurt people. Still getting contacted by broken-hearted women who thought they knew him. We're both prisoners of those stolen photographs. Both victims of people who trade in human vulnerability like it's a commodity. If you're watching this and you've been contacted by someone who seems too perfect, who has reasons they can't video chat, who needs money for emergencies that always seem urgent, please stop. Step back. Show their photos to someone you trust. Do a reverse image search. Ask yourself, would a real person who loves me put me in this position? The man I loved never existed. But my love was real. My loneliness was real. My hope for companionship in my final years was real. And the people who exploited those real feelings are real too. They're out there right now, crafting new messages, stealing new photos, finding new victims. Don't let them find you. My name is Dorothy Williams. I'm 67 years old. I lost $45,000 to a romance scam. And I'm telling you this not because I'm proud, but because silence protects predators and truth protects people. If my story makes you uncomfortable, good. Sit with that discomfort. Because somewhere tonight, another woman is getting that first message. Another lonely heart is being targeted. Another life is about to be destroyed. But maybe, just maybe, she'll remember my story. She'll hear my voice in her head saying, wait. Stop. Think. And maybe she'll walk away before it's too late. That's what I hope for. That's what I'm fighting for now. That's how I'm turning my nightmare into something that might, someday, save someone else from the same pain. The body cam footage showed me the truth. The man I loved was never real. But I'm real. My pain is real. And my determination to stop this from happening to others is the most real thing I have left. Don't let loneliness make you vulnerable to lies. Don't let desperation for connection override your instincts. And if it's already happened to you, if you're watching this and recognizing your own story in mine, know this, you're not stupid. You're not weak. You're human. And there's a whole community of survivors waiting to help you stand back up. We don't have to hide in shame anymore. We can stand in truth instead. And truth, I'm learning, is the only power we have left. If you've experienced something similar, please share your story in the comments. Let's build a community of survivors who refuse to be silent. Subscribe to this channel for more stories like mine, stories that might save lives. Remember, the scammers win when we stay quiet. We win when we speak up. My name is Dorothy Williams. This is my truth. And I'm not hiding anymore.